Welcome back to NAmen episode 13. We're here to talk about what everyone's been talking about for the last several days. Over a week, actually, people have been talking about this. It's been all over Twitter, all over Reddit. Roster announcements, and how orgs are choosing to post their videos or not post videos in certain cases. And yeah, we want to talk about those. We want to talk about which ones have built fan excitement and hype, and which ones have decidedly not done that. So yeah, I'm Arsh, as always.
I'm Delphi. Finally home on Christmas break.
Uh, I'm Elaine, also on break now, so I have more time to miss my esports boys. Yay.
Hi, I am Maya. I'm on Twitter as LCS Miracle. I am not on break, unfortunately, unlike the rest of my friends, but I will be soon, which is nice. And at that point, I will join them in being terminally online.
Yeah, I'm still in finals. I have a final tomorrow, which I've not yet studied for because we're doing this. So that's good. Okay, so we have a list here of just yeah. So we have a list here of the roster announcements as they've come out. So in order, first we have Golden Guardians. Anyone want to talk about Golden Guardians announcement?
Yeah, because
Oh, are we
they
just
started
like
with
going one
the
by one? I thought we would list them all.
oh, you
Yeah,
want
we'll go one by one. So
to go one by one? It
Golden
makes
Guardians
sense.
was the
Okay.
first to announce. What did they
Yeah,
have, Lane?
like they had the like they started with that welcome back who he vid, which was a banger. Because Golden Guardians has been taking some dubs with content recently, and like it was they had like Stixay paying off these mysterious captors to free Huhi, and it was like a funny skit at the beginning, and then Huhi was talking about how he and Stixay were excited to reunite and play with each other since they used to be teammates on CLG and they were pretty close. So I think that was pretty cute.
Yeah, it's a pretty like a fan favorite CLG roster, right? Like after Rush Hour, that was the one that really got like I mean that really sticks in fans' minds. Like other than current CLG, you know. I think it makes sense that they would do a
Yeah,
big tribute to
also
them.
also because like it is actually one of three rosters to ever win an international best of five outside of the playing stage at Worlds, alongside C9 2018 and TL 2019. So people have good memories of that.
Yeah, NA winning internationally, so so relatable in the modern day. Okay, but yeah, I don't know. What did you guys think of this announcement? I like the video.
I think it set a great tone, especially because Golden Guardians, I think, has been unfairly clowned on a lot and sort of been made to be neighbors with the Immortals and Dignitases of recent years, and even those orgs I think are stepping up a little bit, but that is another thing entirely. Um, I think that was one in a line of many indications that they care about the LCS. They're invested in the LCS. And I know like some people are going to say it's a stretch to just make that assumption based off of content, but I don't think so because I think that the roster that they have, it's not blowing anyone's socks off, but it is a decent roster, and they are doing the best that they can to, set forth their ideas of what they want to do with the roster, as evidenced by the Narrow videos, and also the fact
Mhm.
that they're looking to generate hype. I think is a good sign for the investment of that org into the scene, and so I think that's what I got from that, in addition to it just being like a generally a cool video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They also had that they did have that like Anero video where he talked about the whole roster for 2 minutes, so that was nice too. Yeah.
yeah. Inero's been really solid on like communication with this stuff, which I've really appreciated actually. Um, I don't know. I thought that this video was really good as far as like I've talked about it before, but I think like lower tier orgs finally doing stuff exactly what Maya said is like super nice because it gives them a way to catch up to like the top echelon of orgs in terms of like notoriety and fan engagement. I think that's pretty awesome. Did anyone Delphi? Did you have thoughts on the Guardians one?
Not particularly. I liked it, and I also like the fact that they did a video, and I'm also like a Huki fan, so it was nice to see, and it was kind of like the welcome back was cute.
Yeah, they I really like the direction they've taken in being very like wholesome, interesting, and like personable as a brand, rather than like, I don't know. Like it's clear that they like, you can have that time when it's like, oh, they're trying to be like friendly and cool, but like it just comes off weird, kind of like what EG does sometimes. But Golden Guardians feels genuinely like relatable and fun, because it feels like they actually like really, really genuinely love players, and they really are excited that who he's back. So I got excited for them because of it. But yeah, okay. So after Golden Guardians, the next announcement was kind of a minor announcement, which was C9. The only real change they made was Diplex, and they obviously had Academy / Challenger roster change. But this is a really interesting announcement. Abnormal. Maya? You're the resident C9 fan, so you can tell us what C9 did that was different.
Sure. So here's one thing. So I am a Stratus member, which means that I was in the Zoom call in which they announced the roster a couple days before it was made public. And well, it was made public because it was leaked like 3 months ago, but officially made public. And so personally, I thought that the video that they put out in comparison to like the Stratus call was, I don't want to say disappointing, but it was just, you know, not memorable, because I feel like if you were in the Stratus call, then there was nothing new to you almost at all. And it's not like the video was interesting to watch either, because it's not like they did a skit like Golden Guardians would have done. It was mostly just Jack sitting there and saying, all right, here's what we learned from 2021, here's what we're doing from 2022, blah, 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 blah. And to top that off, they also ended up making the VOD from that Stratus Zoom call available to the public like 1 week later anyway, which just further rendered that useless. So I don't know, the Cloud9 announcement didn't really leave the best taste in my mouth. I'm not saying that I disliked it. I'm glad that they put out something, but it was just wholly, not memorable for me.
I think I'd say I disliked it. I'd be willing to say that. I thought it was, unless I'm remembering wrong, I don't know if it does. Like the Jensen announcement from the middle of the year, that was like way more hype.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
I remember that. The hooded figures. They had Sneaky
yeah, that was
in
cute.
there.
Like I'm remembering
That was
last year.
actually a really banger
systems.
announcement, yeah.
Yeah, like the Jensen announcement, like it's like hype. I'm remembering the LS announcement. Remember that? Like
Yeah,
the LS announcement had
the
all
whole
of like League of
key-
Legends Twitter, like, you know what I mean? Like they
Yeah,
built
like
hype.
to some degree, that was not because the video was that great. It was because it's like Nick the fucking
LS,
LSR.
yeah.
Yeah, but like the video wasn't bad, because like they had this whole thing where it's like the screen is duotone red, and he sits down and he unveils the hood, and lo and behold, it is LS. And like it
Yeah,
was
play more
literally
creative.
just like a 5 minute. Yeah, it's like a 5 minute iMovie thing, but it was nice to see. Like it was clearly.
They
effort,
also did the thing where it was like every 1,000 likes will like thing will move the hood further back, right? Like that was
Oh yeah,
that got
was
like
cool.
50K likes or
Yeah.
some shit. I remember when that happened. Like even though it was like heavily rumored that it was probably LS, like I remember when that happened, I was literally like taking the latest frame and like putting it into a photo editor and like cranking up the brightness and like trying to find where the pixels changed to try and identify it was LS. You know, like I thought that it was like they generated hype around it, and they get ready to be purified. And I understand that like whatever, it's less hype because they're sticking with the same rosters, less to mess around with. But be like make it hype. You know what I mean? Like yes, to you it's not that hype that you're keeping Berserker because he's just staying in his contract. But you could make it hype. Be like, look, guess what, bitches? We're keeping Berserker. Woo! Air horn.
Yeah,
You know what I
wait,
mean?
like what COG did, but like yeah, like the 6 minute version of their video like didn't talk about the players they kept. It only talked about the new ones. So
That's true. That's also.
I
That's
mean, here's also the thing. I don't like Arsh said, there are ways to generate hype around the fact that you're keeping a roster, right? Like
yeah,
Cloud9 had
I
so
feel like
much that they could
they
have
dropped the
done
ball there
in
a
terms of,
bit.
yeah, like we just won the LCS and we're gonna do it again, minus one player. But I think like there's so much that could have been done there that wasn't done. And like, okay, here's the thing. Like as a Cloud9 fan, like I know that they enjoy this like format of Jack like every offseason. Elaine, okay, for audio only people, I mean there is no video version, but Elaine just flashed this like emoji of Jensen during the pop quiz where he's visibly confused. Cracked me up. But
Yeah, it's like
I
Jensen looking
digress.
confused. Picture, sorry.
Right. I think no, of course it's fun, but this one thing that C9 could have done that they like to do this all off season where they'll have Jack and X player in the team sit down and do like a talk about the roster. They did it in 21 with the Church Nine. They did it in 22 after the Jensen hype video, and they did it in 23, and they have done it before too. But and I think those are really they're really good pieces of content as far as analytics goes, but I think that you cannot ignore the more lighthearted side.
Yeah, I think Elaine mentioned it, but when we get to CLG, that's an example of how you can keeping a roster hype. So let's move on from C9. Next is Immortals, who I was very pleasantly surprised with. I don't know if anyone was keeping up fully with them other than me. Anyone want to talk about them?
I mean, I watched them. They did like a 1 minute video for the 3 new players, and then like the 5 minute video about the coaching staff.
Yeah, I actually
Yeah, I
think
mean,
the coaching staff.
it was mostly the gameplay highlights, but the video
It was
about a
still a
Blaze Olive
video.
had a bit of acting from Kenvi and Revenge, which was kind of cute.
It was cute.
But yeah, otherwise, it's not like anything crazy, the highlight clips, but at least
Yeah.
they did something.
And I think IMT also, I can't remember they hired a new person to like recently like revamp all their socials, their like brand identity and all that.
And it's going really well.
Yes, I
Mhm.
can't remember his name. I would look it
Yeah,
up,
it's
but
definitely an improvement over this year's IMT, like this
Oh,
past
Three
year's
Lions?
Honestly,
IMT.
no, like yeah, no, it was so because like not to brag about like our, as NAmen, our platforms and reach, but there were multiple occasions where we QRT'd the Immortal social account and we ratioed them by like a 500% margin. And it was so replicable.
I mean,
It
I'm pretty
was
sure a
not a
piss
one-off
random could have
thing.
ratioed some of those
3
Immortals
to
tweets.
15, bro.
Yeah, like it was not even like those one of those momentous rare occasions like when I don't know if some
Yeah,
people
it
know, but there
doesn't
was this
feel
one
good. It
point
doesn't
where
feel cool to ratio
yeah,
It
like
feels like
Immortal.
you're
Like
ratioing a piss
I have
random, bro.
ratioed EG. Okay, I've ratioed EG like twice. That was cool. But like, no one's gonna feel good about ratioing Immortals. It's like kicking someone that was already down. Like,
yeah.
yeah, like the most memorable Twitter ratio that I can remember from this community in like the last year was when G2's 80 carry ratioed Pope Francis. And I'm like, this if that is the crowning ratio of 2022, this has to be like the opposite end. Because I could literally tweet Abba Dabba Doo Dee Dabba and that would ratio Immortals at one point. So,
Yeah, they're definitely doing a lot
it
better
is
now.
they're doing better.
Yeah.
The
yeah,
point is
And
they're doing better.
And I
it's
think that a big
100%
part of
on the
that
up.
is
I'm
like
glad of it.
a big part of that is like how much that they've like clearly reinvested. So like I mean, kind of didn't I don't know if we talked about this, but we talked about it on like power rankings and stuff. But like they picked up this new coaching staff, and as Elaine mentioned, that was like most of their announcements. Like most of their video content over the last month has been about their infrastructure, not their players, which is interesting. I'm down for that because they did hire Parth, who brown representation. Then they have Dios and Draxer from EG, Dios from Academy. Who, if you're not familiar with coaching stuff, that like there's a reason they're excited for these people to come on because these are genuinely really talented coaches and people who can be their infrastructure. That like could actually really make this org flourish, this team flourish. So I actually really appreciate that, like when your players are not that exciting because they've been bounced around on bottom teams for a long time, potential, but like have had a difficulty like showing that when it's not hard to get people excited about your players because you don't have caps, you haven't signed Reckless. So when that happens, like get people excited about the fact that hey, we're changing stuff up, we're getting a new infrastructure. That's what we're gonna spend all our time announcing. I appreciate that.
I definitely agree, because there's like you know, I know like this runs contrary to what I said about C9 but I don't think it is unfair to say that I hold C9 to a higher standard. But for Immortals, seeing them like make the first step where you have okay, you at least have these sort of like um State of the Union sort of speeches, well not speeches, but like content pieces where it's your higher ups talking about what they want to do with your org. That is a plus. That is by no means a bad um content piece. So I think like relative to what their identity used to be, Immortals is in a good place now and getting better.
I agree. Any final thoughts on Immortals, Delphi and Elaine? Pretty quick.
I don't know. Just shout out to Immortals socials team. Thank you for posting pictures of Kenby. I owe you my life.
Yeah, I mean, I just agree with
Kapinggarian
everything.
Pinoy.
Yeah.
We're missing Maxi,
Yeah. Okay.
but
Pinoy
I
pride.
will
I mean,
I will spout the
Pinoy
Pinoy
pride.
pride in her absence.
Yes.
Immortals is a pretty attractive roster considering they've got Revenge and Envy. I'm just saying, like they can make some content.
That's what I'm saying.
They can make some content. That's all I'm saying. That's all I want. Okay. TSM. I don't think I watched the TSM announcement.
TSM made an announcement. Like as far as I can remember, it was a little bit like Immortals, except it was just one video.
Yeah,
Actually, yeah,
it was just a
definitely what it was.
2-minute video that had like some highlights of each player, and like it's nothing crazy. It's better than nothing though.
It was just like a very standard video. I wish videos were the standard for everybody.
Yeah, it's better
But,
than nothing is.
Like we keep
We'll get
hinting
there.
at this like better than
We'll
nothing
get
thing.
there.
Yup.
We're not there yet.
We'll get to the nothing. Okay,
I
so
mean,
TSM.
like I think 50% of our followers, like they've already guessed it. Like
I
we'll
mean, they
get there.
already know, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Funny
think. Yeah,
that
I
we're
don't
not
think it's
mentioning
that.
the org, but we're not mentioning the org by name yet.
We'll get
but
there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
So,
We'll get there.
TSM kind of like a baseline for a bottom, because let's be honest, they're a bottom placing LCS roster now. As much as I love
The fall from
some of these
grace.
players, like it's gonna be hard.
TSM.
It's hard to get people excited about your players, and you're not changing up your coaching staff or anything. You can't do what Immortals did. Do a very standard
They could have
thing.
made it more exciting. They could have made it more hype.
They could have, but
Could've.
at least
And I know they have incredibly talented video people. They have talented people that could make that. Shout out Wheels, but it's a decision, presumably not from those talented people, to announce it this way. Probably because of budget and because this roster is not designed to dominate. So TSM higher ups have decided that they don't want to bother. Which like, fine, whatever. I'm not gonna hold this team to that because it's like if you don't have a roster like that, fine, whatever. Do the baseline and I don't. But next we have TSM's foil, PLG, which was a pretty hype announcement, I would think. A pretty, let's say it generated conversation.
Run it back.
It
It generated conversation.
It started with like all the players posting like, "Oh, thank you, Seal." People
Like,
were like, "Oh,
they
thank you,
did that joke.
contracts."
There's
Yeah.
this jokey thing on Twitter where they
And they-
posted like, "Thank you to these 5 players," and they like worded
pretended
it
they
as
were
if they're saying
leaving.
goodbye, but they didn't actually say goodbye, so it was like a prank.
Yeah, and then like a couple hours later, they released the YouTube video, and they were like, "Oh, actually, we're running it back."
We're running it back.
I'm like, who knew?
No, it was so funny because like literally the day of that announcement, I got either day of or day after I got dinner with PLG's social media manager, Pods and Buns, because we were just in the same area. So when I was talking to her, I literally said like, you guys had me so tripped up because at first everyone's like tweets about it were like, yeah, no, like very sorry, like you know, really looking forward to playing however I can. And then Greg Kim was like, I would vouch for any of these players whenever I had to. But like they're all like being very coy and dodging around it. Like they're never saying anything directly. But then Contracts like tweeted, very sad I won't be playing in LCS next year. Can't believe CLG kicked me. Sad face. Like basically like he just said it and people were like, wait, this was not coy.
Are you being like,
what are you doing? Yeah. I got tripped up by that so hard.
Here's what I wanna say about that. I actually thought like the CLG announcement video itself was not the best. It wasn't bad. I just thought it was like not entirely new. But that whole shtick that they did with it, that like made it so much cooler, you know. And even
Yes.
though like we knew the whole time that it was fake, like we knew that okay, we know you're fucking trolling, right? And even
Yeah.
when like Contracts did his thing for like 5 minutes, we all knew, okay, like nice try, buddy. Wait, no, like you're actually okay, yeah, like there was like this little
Yeah, I saw
bell
multiple
curve
people
of
just like
like
asking about it,
heart
like,
rate, yeah.
wait.
Yeah, and that makes it memorable, right? Because like the announcement they did, they just like added music to a photo shoot and called it a day, right? Which alongside like TSM, I don't think like that was a great like a memorable video, but that's what I feel like there's a fundamental misunderstanding of content about, right? Like this
Mhm.
whole Twitter shtick that you're doing, that is content. That is content that sort of adds to the experience of the roster announcement
Yeah,
video you have.
it's
Even
like
if that
getting
was just a photo shoot
interactions.
with, yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think that was why I, like, as a whole, I thought the CLG handled their roster announcement thing really well, right? And yeah, I like what they did there, and I think it's creative, and I think that is another thing that orgs can do for content, and it's another reason why there really needs to be more of it, and as compared to some of the excuses that we have.
Um, yes, I think that is pretty much how I'd sum it up. I thought CLG did cool things social media way around their announcement. The skit actually I thought was pretty funny, but I can see it going either way. It's fine. You're running back the same team, and they made really good content throughout the year, so I expect that'll continue next year. And so for that, I'm willing to give them the pass for like a whatever roster announcement because it's not really an. Um, Next, Team Liquid announced their roster, which was probably for me the second most hype out of anyone.
Like the roster or the announcement?
The way they announced it and like just like the impact it made, the splash that roster made as it entered the pond of the LCS, I thought was second biggest. And we'll get to the biggest later, but I thought the TL one quite impactful.
I did like the TL one actually. I spent like the last hour just watching all of these, so I would actually know what I was talking
Me
about.
too, wait, me too! Oh my god! Let's
So,
go!
um,
No, that one was really
I
good, yeah.
it is really good, but it's a little like everything's running together in my head right now.
I mean, I
But
like kind of wrote notes, but
oh, I don't write notes. That's just not my thing. But
so like this year's
Here's like,
MSI wasn't your thing. You weren't taking
no,
notes.
nope, did not take
oh
notes.
my,
Bro. I took notes after what I
Anyways,
did to your mom.
okay, Arsh.
I
Okay,
think
so
I might be the only one that did not appreciate TL's. Like, okay, here's the thing. I liked that they were transparent about it. I liked that they explained it. But I think it was mid for the same reason that I think Cloud9's was mid, is that when I already know that a roster is being formed, and we all knew what these rosters were because they'd been leaked like 10 times before, right? And I think that it was it wasn't that interesting to hear Steve and Dodo talk about it as compared to what it might have been if they did like a skit style thing, right? It was still cool to hear, but I think like when you already know the roster, it's cooler to like do something funny like that, and then maybe later on, like 1 week later or however many days later, drop a sort of explanatory thing. That's my
I
sense.
definitely
That makes
agree.
yeah, that makes
Wait, I
sense.
actually disagree. I
Wait, no,
think that
I don't like. Okay, well, me and Elaine. I think me and Elaine and you and Maya are like definitely on two different
wait, no,
sides of
no,
the
I disagree
spectrum.
with Maya.
wait, no, just go.
No, no, no. I was gonna say like I don't. Elaine, are you like a big fan of like watching CEOs talk about players? Because I don't care.
No, I don't care that much. I actually don't care that much either. I just think that I was gonna say my expectations seem to have been lowered a lot based by certain other orgs not
Certain
doing stuff.
other organizations.
So I'm just like, wow, this
Yup.
team did a video. That's great. Good for them. I can't relate. So like, but like what Maya said makes sense. Like I would definitely agree that it would be a lot cooler if they did like a skit style thing, because those are always cooler than like the
Yeah.
CEO talks. But the CEO talking is still better than nothing. So that's
Well,
just
Ha
where
I
I'm
ha
at.
would
ha.
contend
Okay,
for
you guys go.
me
Yeah, 100%.
the reason Steve doing that was so the reason it hit well for me is obviously it wasn't as good as like if they it or if they had all the players together, but it's difficult because they're launching the Korean boot camp and they've done content afterwards. So again, willing to give them the pass. Same as CLG. Like they've been, Jan's been posting that and getting a lot of interactions, free interaction bait. But like, I thought that I've never seen a CEO more genuinely excited about their roster. Like I'm trying to imagine Jack or Reggie or something, or like even Carlos back when
Reggie,
right? Like I'm imagining one of the faces, like one of these org faces, like doing an announcement like Steve did for the TL roster, and convincing me as much as Steve did of how excited he was. Like Steve is sitting there, dude is smiling like the Joker,
Yeah,
except
he was
like
excited,
it's legit.
yeah.
He's like, dude, I can't. Like, okay, so Harry is so good. Like he's literally
Okay, you guys
nerding
can't
out, right?
see. You guys can't see Arsh right now. We just have our video cams on for fun, and he was like, he was so animated.
He was like he was so excited. Like I can't. You obviously can't see me on video, but like he was like clenching his fist.
Steve.
He was like laughing with the camera guy because he was like, dude, I'm so excited for this roster. Oh my god. And I'm like, because he was so excited, I was like, you know what? I appreciate this. I liked it better than C9's like Jack sitting down being like, we have decided.
No, yeah, Jack
roster.
was very monotone. I'll agree with that.
We've decided to grab Diplex. We think he's a good talent. Veigar V2 recommended him. Yeah, he's pretty good.
Why does he have that accent now? That's not
saying, bro.
No, you don't remember Jack?
Why am I British?
Jack Etienne from Northern Britain. You didn't know that? He's from there? What? Like that's his whole thing. Like his entire brand. That's why they're called the London Spitfire. It's from London. Okay. Anyways, I'm hilarious. So, yeah, thought C9's is pretty good.
Wrong.
Or not C9, TL.
I think. Okay, so here's one thing. I agree that TL definitely had more like joie de vivre behind their announcement as compared to Cloud9, right? But I still think that fundamentally, like, I don't want like people to think that I'm saying that I do not like this. Me personally, I like hearing like analytical thoughts, but I think that having like these sort of trailers is cooler. And the reason I think that is because I feel okay. I have two splits worth, or depending on how the format changes, three splits worth of time for the coaches to make analytical content, for the league to make analytical content, for podcast people, not our podcast, but like the Dive and Hotline League and so on and so forth, to like break down analytically, like, oh, like we think Summit's a really good laner and Pioshik's a supportive jungler and Harry this and Yon that and Core JJ this, right? And I feel like that can be done by other agents, and doing the sort of cinematic thing cannot, right? Now at the same time, I'm realizing that like I might be asking too much of TL, or like specifically because like you said, they don't have their players together and there was like logistical issues of getting them together, which is why I'm not criticizing TL, because it was functionally impossible for them to do a skit-based thing, right? At the same time, I think that, once again, not as a direct criticism to them because they couldn't have done it, I think that that would be a style that I enjoy.
Yeah, I agree.
This is actually where I will double back on myself, because we talked about how we maybe wanted to bring up different roster announcements, and so I will bring up Mad Lions, which I don't know how many of the people listening will have watched Mad Lions announcements. I don't think just Maya here would have watched it, right? Did any of you guys, Delfi, Elaine, watch?
I was going to watch it because I heard good things about it, and then I forgot.
Okay, so it's psychotic. It's like a movie. It doesn't make
I've seen some of Mad's stuff before, so I can see that.
Normally, like Mad has like a theme to it. Like when they picked up Niski, they like went to like a country home, and they were like, "Need you back." Fine, and he like cracks his knuckles. He's like, "All right, I'm back." He's like golfing or whatever, like out in the countryside. This one was like Hillisang is like the Joker, like he's an evil professor, and they're like, he's crazy, he's insane, right? And they're like uniting him with Karzi, who's like wired up and like electrical, but because like Karzi and Hillisang are insane players who like go in all the time and in usually.
Oh, that
and
sounds
they're
really
like,
cool.
So the voiceover, it's like this guy's like, "You think we're crazy, but we just see the game differently." Like, and it's like the whole time it's like this like creepy like horror like, and like that's basically his Like he's doing it the whole time.
Arsh is so right. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, go on.
I'm just saying, like,
No, go
they
on.
did that. Never once do all 5 players appear in the same room. It's just like they're all in different scenes. Like sometimes there's like 3 players in a room together. They're like talking to each other. But like you absolutely could have done a skit thing where it's like, even like each player being introduced individually. Like, in Korea, you just have like one set
Just
there.
record the
one there.
scuffing on your phone.
Like you could have
Going on
done
Twitter
this.
That's what I'm
anyways.
saying.
It
I
doesn't
know
need
this
to be
so
that
advanced.
cinematic, and you can
Yeah,
piece it together across country, if you really wanted to. I think TL made up for it with their content afterwards, but I'm saying that in the future it doesn't have to be restriction, and like Mad kind of proved. I don't think they had all 5 players.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think, to that point, Mad Lions is an org that, like, if I were to put myself in the shoes of a Cloud9 or a Liquid, I might say, oh, but Mad is a cinematography org. They love doing that. Like, that's their shtick, right? They love, like, right now, this theme that Arsh talked about, it was basically Niski and Elioya are the detectives. That's the mid-jungle duo of Mad Lions, for those who are not aware. And they are trying to apprehend Hillisang, who is an evil professor, and he is conducting these sort of Frankenstein experiments on Chasey, the top laner, and Karzi, the AD carry, right? And he has them sort of like put in like these like torture chairs, or I don't even know. Like it was just this crazy cinematographic concept. And in fairness, okay, that is really cool. I don't think it is up the alley of all the orgs or all the players do that, but it does not have to be at that level, right?
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
just some sort of interactive thing that they can do.
Something
Because I
creative,
know that
right?
like
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm like Matt's whole brand is these sort of creative videos. Like Arsh said, when they did Niski, their sort of theme was that this guy is retired and he's just like big chilling, and then eventually he's like exfiltrated by the rest of the roster. And then when they were announcing the 22, well, like the spring 22 roster, they did something else that was equally cinematic. Um, and like it doesn't have to be that level, because I think Mad is one step above in that sense, because like they have that sort of like experience in their org, which fair, not every org does, but it doesn't have to be. Yeah? And I think like I'll loop back to this in the end, like because we were going to touch a little bit on the Valorant announcements, but that's just something I wanted.
Yeah, I think the Valorant announcements can even like kind of bring them up. The next one we're gonna launch into is gonna take up a while, but I assume you're talking about like the I'd say if like any of the Valorant announcements, just talk about the G2 one, because it's kind of the same thing that we're talking about. Like G2 did this thing for most people haven't watching. I can fill in the gaps if I'm not remembering correctly, but like basically Shazam and Dapper, who were part of this very big super team, fan favorite team, Sentinels, joined G2, and G2 is not part of the original like 10 or whatever franchise teams for Valorant, so they have to go up through
Tier 2
relegation.
org functionally.
Yeah, they have to go up through relegation. They started as a tier 2 org, but they're signing all these big players, and so the way they did it was it's only Shazam and Dapper in the video, but like it starts out as a funeral for G2, and it's got all these famous people, casters and stuff sitting in the audience, and they're all like looking at this coffin that has G2 on it. Like all of the people, they're carrying a coffin in like the dancing guys meme, G2 masks on, and they're like, G2's dead, no more G2 Valorant, and then Shazam rises out of it, Dapper's there, but none of the other players are. It's just Shazam and Dapper because those are like the two big names. The other ones are just but it's a big long skit that only includes those two. I don't think that would work for LCS, but it was a really good like skit. That was that was the one that I wanted to bring.
Yeah, like I think okay, so I will, start out with a disclaimer here if I'm going to do like a quick sort of recap of what happens in, right? Valorant is the new toy of like all these esports orgs, right? They know that it's growing exponentially. They want to invest money there. They want to make sure that they get in on a strong foothold. And so what a lot of you might not know is that the NA League in Valorant, there is no NA League. It's an America's League. So it's North America, South America, and Latin America all into one league. And there are 5 teams from North America in that. 5 of our teams represent the America's League. The other 5 are from South America. So I'm not going to discuss them. But all 5 North American orgs that are in that that are in the Valorant League, including some that are also in the LCS and have not invested as well into their announcements for the LCS, they did great content there. All of them made skits. All of them had some sort of like cinematic to it, right? And to some degree, I think I watched those and I think, okay, why couldn't you have just done this for League Two? And I think,
Wait,
all
so
right,
what's an
maybe
example of
like I
one of the
get it, like
orgs?
they want to.
Like, did C9 do an announcement for their VC?
Yeah, so C9's actually was the one I was thinking of at this point in time. Theirs was considered honestly like the best Valorant announcement because they had this whole thing where they did like a boxing ring theme and they got Slime, who I think is a very famous FPS streamer, I could be wrong, to do their
No,
announcements.
he's
And
not
he
a famous
basically
FPS streamer. He's
announced.
Ludwig's like man. But yeah, he's known
Okay,
for
whatever.
being like
Like,
a
yeah.
he's a Smash commentator. He wears a lot of hats, but he's not a very famous.
Okay. But yeah, so what they basically did this thing where he is this boxing announcer and he's just like saying like, okay, so here are the new heavy hitters of Valorant and they have the like they announced it like a mafia thing almost. Like Ye is obviously El Diablo. They have one other player who's like the jokester. They have one other player who they announce as like, you know, the brain. This other guy is the brawn. Like I don't have the best memory of it, but they did that general idea, right? And then you look at Cloud9 in League, and here is 5 minutes of Jack sitting in a chair talking about scouting, right?
Yeah,
Um,
but like to
so
be more clear, like what they were at a boxing ring, like it was like well lit, cinematic, and every player was there, and they walked in and they like did a whole thing. They were like wearing like they were like in like a quote unquote
exactly,
costume. Like this
yeah,
is like a
like
genuine
they had
thing.
like the black
Yeah.
robes. Yeah,
Like
exactly.
they're all in the same place. It's like a genuine like thing that they tried to do. But yeah, the disparity there is really noticeable with like they just stopped caring about doing it for LCS. It's just really weird. Speaking of not
Yeah, and
caring
like
though about
I don't
announcing
want to like just real quick. I don't want to jump to that conclusion about C9 League, right? And nor do I want to say that okay, like and nor do I want to make the assumption that the only reason that they're doing it is because Valorant is bigger or whatever. But I think that there is something to be said about you clearly having the capacity to do this for your other games. And I don't know if they're choosing not to. Maybe they don't think it's worth it. But I think it's like important to note that this is something that is within their wheelhouse.
yeah,
Right, Arsh, go on.
that's basically what I was saying. Like even a certain other org whose initials are EG did a little bit more for their Valorant announcement than they did for League. But speaking of maybe not putting as much effort into the LCS, well, geniuses. What did they do, Elaine?
They announced their roster. Not even it wasn't even like early on. Like they first announced like someday in FBI the new players with like images, right? And then it's like, oh, are they gonna do a full roster announcement? Are they? And then they waited like over a week, and then they post another image with the full roster. It's like, why did you
Oh
guys
my
wait a week
god!
just to post the picture?
Holy shit!
Oh my god, a
Sick.
JPEG!
The JPEG. Wait, they were the first. They were also like the only org, and the first org to do a picture announcement because everyone else did videos, and then everyone after them also did videos. So they're just alone. And then
They
it
look
was like,
a little clownish, I fear.
It's
it was like, who was making the decisions? I'm sorry. Like, yeah.
I mean,
Okay, to be fair, they did promise a video closer to the
Yeah,
beginning
they
of the
said
season.
they had to like some poor social media person had to comment on the post and be like,
Because
"There's a
everybody
hype.
was
Evil
so mad.
evil takes time. Evil takes time. There's a hype video coming closer to the start of the season, which that's like probably 1 month from now. But also like why does it have to take time, bro? Like I think what's
Everybody
evil.
else's
I think the
time.
part that's evil about evil, like y'all said, evil takes time. I think it's true because it's evil that y'all taking so much time. It would be good if you guys didn't like take that much time and you just made a video like everyone else and showed that you care. Then you would be good geniuses. So I get it.
Banger.
Yeah.
My perspective on that has changed like a little bit because I remember Mad Lions like today their thing dropped and everyone's like, holy shit, this thing could be like an Oscar winner. And then like 2 months ago they had this whole like just like JPEG things like EG did, right? And
2 months
everyone was like
ago.
clowning
2
on
months
them.
ago. That's the thing.
yeah, that's
like
they
if
Like
if
two
EG
months
had
two
released a
months ago is a
JPEG 2 months.
hyperbole.
Okay,
yeah,
but,
they,
like-
they announced it a
Yeah, but the difference is that we've seen a track record of Mad Lions putting
Yeah.
out cool videos, and EG's track record non-existent.
They're not
Also-
rocking with
also,
assists.
LEC and
per
LCS
season?
start at the same time. Like, Mad still got their video out several weeks, presumably, before EG will. Like, it is
Yeah.
very weird. I wish I could say more, but can't.
Same.
But there is...
It's public.
Well, I mean, I just know about certain people and certain things where I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, that's crazy. You could have just done more, or you could have invested in
Yeah.
doing more.
They could have
Um,
like done more. They like have the money to like put
They have the
into
money
this stuff,
and the
but
talent,
they just,
by the way.
and
They
the
had
talent,
the talent, perhaps, maybe.
and the money.
Past tense.
Yes.
but like the fact that they just like didn't do it means that like they just, I don't know,
It
couldn't
feels
be
like they don't
bothered,
care.
like,
The
which
CBA.
does not feel good at all. Like, you guys like this is not like an unhyped roster. Like, okay,
What was
someday
EG's
inspired
2022
JoJo,
announcement?
FBI.
Does
I don't
anyone
even
remember
know.
2022 announcement? Delphi, can you pull it up real quick? I don't want my keyboard.
No, they did. What EG's 2022 announcement?
Yeah.
Did they even have a video?
They
I don't.
no, they didn't. But they had like these. They had animated gifs
They had gifts.
where they
Yeah.
had like
Oh
Yeah,
wait,
they
I
had, like,
remember they did
welcome,
like player
like, they
introductions. So Like the
Velcom,
videos.
sorry, not Velcom, Welcome Vulcan, and he was doing like the esports pose, and they had like his C9 headshot, but an
The
EG
esports
jersey
pose.
photoshopped onto it. Yeah, and they had like it was animated in some way, right? But it was still a GIF, and they did the same for Inspired.
Yeah, it wasn't a
I
video.
don't think JoJo. I don't think
No,
JoJo
JoJo
got
got one.
anything like.
He did.
Oh, okay.
I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
Oh,
So
Jojo
yeah,
and
They're
Danny
good.
that's
also
what they
got
had.
introduction videos, by the way.
Hmm?
I'm sending them now. Jojo
Huh?
and Danny get introduction
Yeah.
videos for 2022.
Oh, I think I saw the JoJo one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So there you go.
So they did
so
more last
they
year.
did have.
So they're just getting
And
worse, is what I'm hearing.
and like the reason we brought up originally, like I didn't want to make the point about EG when I was doing Valorant like little shtick because we hadn't gone there, but EG's Valorant announcement was really funny. They
Yeah, I
played
saw that
off,
one.
I liked
That's
it.
pretty
they
good.
played off like like the community, when they were announced for franchising, the running joke was that EG has 12 fans, yada yada. Why did Optic make it over EG? X, Y, Z, A, B, C. And so their announcement played off of that. They said something like, a 10-person roster for our 10 fans. And it was like
Yeah, that
really
was funny.
hilarious. It was
Like, it was
actually
like
really
it was
funny.
creative, but like it's like you guys could even put in like the bare minimum like TSM and just do a highlight reel, and that would still be better than
didn't
this
even
because it would
do
like
that.
it's not really, it's like about showing that you care and like
I
showing that.
know.
Yeah,
It feels like
putting in
you're
the
best
saying that your
effort
team
you-
isn't worth it.
Yeah, it's like
and just
like,
so we're
how-
clear, I just want to give a quick for like I'm comfortable saying this, which is that the people who are at EG behind the scenes, anyone who works on the social media, or anyone that is vaguely public within esports, are not the people that you should be mad at. For this.
yeah.
Don't take
blame
your
don't
like,
blame
your
the
anger out on,
the
like,
poor social media
John.
people. Don't blame
They're doing their
them.
best.
Because
They're
I
doing
can,
their best.
I'm comfortable
they're killing,
saying
though.
that I know for
Yeah.
a fact that these people truly care about the scene. That's why you see things like the evil takes time.
They are
That's
doing
why,
the best.
like,
They're the best.
It's the same people posting those things like, oh, 10 players for our 10 fans. Like, those are the same people who are posting this stuff about League. It is not them being less passionate about League, not caring. It is, it's just not that, right? Like, these people genuinely care. They're trying their best. And they've proved that over and over, that, like, the front-facing people at EG genuinely try. So don't, like, target these people. Don't be like, look, I know, see, this person says social media at EG. It's their fault. It's the social media's fault. Because I did see a lot of that where people were like, damn, why are you commenting on this as a social media EG? Go get your org together. It's like, EG's socials are doing well still. It is not that. Because clearly in other games, they are working just fine. That is not what is happening. It has nothing to do with that. So just, I really don't want to see that happen because I did see it, especially from people who are like tangential to our community, which kind of sucks because I know better and I just want to make sure that everyone knows better. Like, do not call out those people. Do not target them.
Anyway, EG is
Okay.
a flop. Now let's move on to the best
Wait,
roster announcement
wait,
video.
I wanted-
Oh,
Wait,
oh,
I
go
wanted
on,
to,
Elaine.
I wanted to like explain why I think announcements, like roster announcements, are even important in the first place. like it's not just that like a good announcement video generates more like excitement and fan interest for your roster, and like having fans is good. Surprise, surprise. You want to have fans. Especially if especially if you're like getting new players and you want to be able to introduce them positively to fans. You know, there's fans who are like, "Well, you guys picked up this player, but like he's like worse like than our the player that you had before." So like you can like try to spin that positively, and otherwise like people are just gonna keep saying that, and then like it's also gonna be many fans like first impression of your org, especially if you're getting new players and they're like, "Oh, my favorite player
Oh,
is like going to another org. Like, what are they gonna do for him?
oh my
Nothing."
god. 100 Thieves fans were so mad when Someday
Were
literally
they?
got a JPEG.
I feel bad
Yeah,
for
they
them.
were like,
I'm
he was so
sorry, guys.
disrespected.
Love Someday.
Dude, Someday went from Hall of Fame, like 5 minute, like literally like
He
receiving
literally did
medals
a
he
and
got
honors.
yeah, he got in the 100 Thieves Hall of Fame.
He got
and
knighted by the
okay,
queen,
he
and
has
then
so
he
many
moves
fans.
over.
He has
Yeah.
so many fans. They're like, what is his new org gonna do for him? Nothing.
JPEG.
And it's like, okay, why would fans care about a roster if the org doesn't even appear to care about it, right? You want fans to care, so like at least pretend you care, you
Dude,
know?
get
Like
that shit on a. Get that shit, like, tweet it or something. Why would fans care about the org if the org doesn't even. Like, that is.
about a roster,
Like,
Why would they
oh,
care about a roster?
yeah,
if
whatever.
org
Hey,
doesn't even
that's
appear
just
to
a
care?
fire quote. Like, you should get that on something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Anyways,
you
no,
should
like
tweet
we are.
that.
Okay, I'll
also
tweet that after.
there's a lot of people have said this, but like there's two ways to get fans to care. One is winning and the other is content, right? Like EG, I'm saying that they got lucky is not the right word, but they managed to get one of those two things to happen and that they won the spring split, right? But you cannot guarantee winning splits as like a consistent and generative form of
Fandom.
making content,
Yeah,
right?
also, like,
Not
they
making
had
content, of make a
personality, right?
fandom, right?
They had personality during
Yeah,
that. Like, people fell in love with Danny and JoJo. Like, JoJo had personality, Inspired had personality, Vulcan has personality out his ass, right? Like, they had personality. Like, why not show off the personality of these players who are great on personality? Like, I'm losing my mind. Okay, but we really cannot spend more time on EG. We've already spent more time on them than they've spent
Okay, can we
announcing
talk
their
about
roster.
the best? Can we talk about the best roster announcement?
Wait,
100 Thieves?
before that, no, 100 Thieves is gonna be the closer, because look, it's not in order.
Closer.
Also,
Closer.
that was the
Closer.
pun. That was the pun. Thank you. Okay, FlyQuest is next.
That's closer to your mom.
FlyQuest announced after. FlyQuest finished their announcements after EG quote unquote announced, and the way they did it is they made a video for every single player. Elaine has written down how long each announcement was.
They're 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, 2 to 3 minutes.
They're pretty good.
They were hype, I think, individually. They showed a lot of excitement. I didn't like it though.
You
Personally.
didn't?
I don't know, like,
I agree. Yeah.
so personally, I think that when you make 5 videos, nobody is watching all 5 videos. Dude, I didn't watch all 5.
I watched them.
all
I
5
watched them
videos.
so that I could know what I was talking
Yeah,
about.
we
But
literally.
I didn't
like,
watch them.
the
before
only
that.
reason any of us, you understand, we are the LCS superfans. Like, that's our thing. We didn't watch these videos. Like, make one video. If you made one video that was 10 to 15 minutes, that would have been far more palatable than 5 2 to 3 minute videos released sporadically
that's
over the
true.
course of 2 weeks.
True.
Like, it's just hard.
No,
for
they
me to-
released it like once a day,
quick,
Oh, okay.
except for
I
Giga, which took
disagree.
like 2
I
days.
disagree with that take. In the sense that like sporadic thing, because once again, I don't want to keep coming back to Valorant, but NRG, which is one of the like North American teams for Valorant, they did this where they had a cinematic, but they broke it down into 5 parts. So their whole theme was, okay, we are like going to summon like our roster are like aliens from space, and we're gonna summon them inside of like the spaceship, and they all crash land down onto Earth one by one. And so they did this like 5 videos separately where they're like, oh, so the first player to crash land down in the ship is our IGL, and then we have this one, and then we have this one, and then we have this one, and they did it over and over again 5 days, and people like that. They got reception out of that. I don't think that that having them separately is the problem as much as the fact that the moment you watch the first one, you know what the rest of them are going to be. The first player they announced was, I think, Ayla, and I looked at that, and it's like 2 minutes of Ayla highlights, and I'm like, okay. And then, I watch whatever, I think the second one was Vikla, All right, and then there's like 5 minutes of Vikla highlights, and I'm like, okay, I know what's this going to be. The third one is going to be highlights of this player. The fourth one is going to be highlights of this player, and the fifth one is going to be highlights of this player. There's no reason for me to watch all five, like Arsh said.
Yeah, well,
I like I said, it's
I
just
think
TSM
that for the
but
NRG
split.
one,
not-
it's like there's a line, like there's a story that like makes you want to watch all of them. You know what I mean? And like they're
No,
reviewing.
that's
them.
exactly what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
This is
That's
just
exactly what I'm saying.
It's just 5 disconnected videos. They could have done one 5-minute video that had 1 minute of like spending on each player, hyping them up, and then like talk about this roster together. Why are you introducing them as 5 pieces? I don't get it. Like, you should like sure, obviously, right? Prince's hype, Nicholas hype, whatever. I want to be convince me that they're good together, right? Like, make me hyped about the roster, not about individual players. Whatever. That's a whole nother. I think we kind of got.
Can I finally talk about my team?
We are
please?
getting to.
Right, but like,
Dignitas didn't
like,
announce.
what was cool?
Yeah.
But what was cool about the one cool thing about Fly was that they like asked like different like casters and people to talk about their players.
Yeah,
I
I
think
like
they're
that.
better than TSM. Don't put them in TSM tier. That's it. Like, we're being a little negative on Fly. I think.
Okay, so there's
Yeah,
2 rosters
maybe
left.
that's fair in that they shouldn't be with TSM category, but I think the core fit was the same in that they just threw highlights together and they did it separately, which like our shed was not great. But I agree with Elaine that the like integration of academy
Delfi,
casters
go.
was-
Okay, so just so we're
Okay.
clear, just so we're clear, Dignitas didn't announce, and now we're getting to the best roster announcement by far. I think that is
True.
the LCS has ever had personally. 100 Thieves. So I'm just gonna let Delphi talk because if I say anything about 100 Thieves that she doesn't appreciate, I will die.
Okay, so basically, most of you guys probably aren't in the 100 Thieves server, but we for the week, I think the week leading up to the announcement, we were counting down every hour. So like at 5:35 would be like 25 minutes, and then at 6:01 would be like 59 minutes. It was so, and we would do that literally constantly.
Oh,
And,
because
like,
you knew it would be released on the hour. That's fine.
yeah, we knew it would be released on the hour, and we were trying to figure out which hour because like we knew like
That's
they
hilarious.
wanted the
That's
players
actually
to be
hilarious.
awake for it. So first of all, the hype leading up to this announcement. Oh my god! So Jungle Juice was in chat, and he was like, "You guys will really like this." Tim7 Houston was in chat. He's like, "You guys will really like this." Double F was streaming, and he's like, "There's an unknown announcement that you guys will really like."
He's like, guys, I think there might be a
Unknown.
video releasing soon.
I'm not sure though. Like he literally said that, and then finally this freaking roster, like this roster video drops. I don't think I was on. Was I on VC with? No, I wasn't on VC with anyone. But I was so lucky my roommate was home because I was literally screaming out loud. I was so excited because like, okay, listen. Like, okay, John Robinson,
Tenacity.
Yasuo, okay. And then they get to freaking, they put Tenacity and Busio together, and like, bro, like my heart, I was like, oh, like, I literally almost had a heart attack, like, I almost dropped dead right there on the spot, you know? And then, like, Tenacity, like, the freaking thirst trap thing was so funny. And then,
Yeah.
So
like, they
wait,
looked really good.
just first of all, if you haven't if not watched 100 roster announcement,
Watch it right
Pause
now
this,
and then come
pause
back.
this,
pause,
and
watch,
go
go watch it, come back.
it's
understand
so
what we're
good.
talking
Anyway,
about.
so
It is
then
the only
they
one of
do-
these that I recommend you have to watch.
Yeah. So and then they do the double lift skit, except they do it with Bjergsen, right? And then they go freaking get double lift from the nursing home. The double lift
Dude,
skills are
that was
absolutely
so
beautiful.
Videos.
funny.
Videos.
He was like, "Oh, back in my day, bot lane was uphills both ways."
And it was
I
like
literally was
terrible
crying.
acting. The Double F Classic.
I'm telling you,
double
I could
classic.
play better than these guys anyway. Okay,
Yeah,
sure,
and
dude.
then it's so funny. And then finally they just get Closer on FaceTime because he couldn't come to LA. Which
Dude,
is like
the
I don't even
funniest
know if
part
it's
was he was
it's so
clearly
funny.
photoshopped onto a he was
Yeah.
holding up a blank phone, and then Closer's FaceTime was photoshopped
It's
onto the
so
phone,
funny.
and I was like losing my mind.
It's really funny.
No, it's actually so,
You
and
didn't
then,
think
like,
we'd lose our closer.
it's so stupid, but I love it. It was so good. And
That's a
let me
really
tell you
creative
the-
way of incorporating
Yeah.
it.
And
yeah.
they themed it around
Yeah.
a heist, even though like
I
it was like
know.
super loosely
heist.
themed around a heist,
The Thieves.
but like it was
Yeah.
themed around a heist. Also,
Yeah,
like
it was like an Ocean's 8 type of heist.
double lift,
Like, oh, we're gonna need this, this, and this.
double
right?
lift wielding a cane is one of the funniest fucking
Oh,
ideas.
it's,
You had it
he
with
I
a
have-
needs to like
sword.
bring that on stage someday.
Dude,
like
he
it's so
does.
funny.
I'm gonna go to LCS with a cane. Like I'm gonna
And
do
you
this.
ask him to take pictures.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to
Photo
LCS with a
shoot.
cane. All 100 Thieves fans. I think some might have been Tim or something. Like someone tweeted
No,
this
it was
where they were
it
like,
was Rafa.
Rafa. It was
I
Rafa.
think.
It was like everyone shows up to LCS with a cane, and if you're 100,
And then you like raise your canes every time.
You just raise your canes every time, and then everyone's like, "Oh damn,
Double
raising
it.
canes! We've got a
Double it.
sponsorship for
canes
this
bunch.
roster."
Anyway, so then so Tenacity looked really, really, really good. I mean,
I really like this roster
good.
announcement. Tenacity looked really good. I don't know what else happened,
I
but
mean-
Tenacity.
I mean, everyone else agrees with that, so
Like nobody's gonna be like, oh, Tenacity
looked
looked
great.
horrible. Anyway, so the players really liked it.
I
Actually,
know that there are European mutuals of mine who are interested in watching like
yeah, I know.
the LCS or like at least 100 Thieves, just
I got my
because they're like,
IRLs to
holy
watch
shit,
100 Thieves.
Tenacity is.
They were
Yeah.
like, oh, if it's game day or whatever, and you want to like watch party it at like my dorm or something, some of my IRL friends who have never played League were like, oh, sure, we can watch at least like the part where the camera's on him.
Like every
my
every
God.
30 seconds you tune back into the you're like oh
Yeah.
oh for like
The player
7
canvas
seconds
rotated?
yeah 7
Yeah,
seconds
yeah.
and then rotates off you're like oh
Yeah, they Tenacity. I've been saying this since last year. Tenacity should have been the face of their team. Okay, like I don't care if he's like an unknown sixth man who doesn't play. He should be the face of your team.
he should have
Like,
just been just only the face.
the face.
yeah, he's the
Just
visual.
his
Just
face.
literally the
But
face.
what about the arm? What about the arms?
Yeah, he's the face and the arms of the team, and then like Lucio's the heart. You know.
the arms of the team.
Double lift is the legs,
What?
got the cane.
No, yes, this roster announcement was like so hyped that I was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna draw them, and then I like drew them. So
It's so good. Go check out Elaine Strong, by the way.
I'm just gonna
Very
draw
good.
them, so then I drew them.
like I was I was like so hyped up, like I got motivated. I was like, well, there's like shots of them
Dude,
like.
it hyped me up enough to
video.
write an article, and I'm so burned out of writing
Yeah,
it
you
now.
wrote an article. I drew something. It's like it's
Anyway,
just that good.
Roster announcement, very good. Every team take notes. Take notes like MSI. Take notes. Take notes.
Wow, that's the
think,
second
yeah,
joke.
like,
That's the same
I
joke
was-
twice this podcast.
I was not like physically present right now while we were talking about this because I was getting raisins, but like I fully agree with everything that was.
We're getting raisins. I'm sorry.
Yes, I was.
I mean, I
was
noticed that you
acquiring
left, so-
raisins to eat, but yes, I was
hungry.
like, I think the creative, like I think a lot of people know that I had like I was still am a big traditional sports fan, and like these sort of skit announcements are something that we've never had there, and it is so new to me, and I really I love this idea. And honestly, if I were to say that if there's anything T Sports should draw from electronic sports, it would be that.
Please
And
never
I
say
think, like,
electronic
100
sports again. I will kill you.
Yeah.
You say
I looked at
electronics.
the my
Did I- wait, did
name.
I?
You
Oh
you
my
said
God, no,
you
I
said T
That sounds like
sports.
something that my dad would say.
You said T
Or my
sports,
mom.
which is the short
Maybe.
form for traditional sports, which no one uses except absolute fucking like. T sports is something I started using. People got mad at me for when I was like T sports and E.
Yeah, no.
And you
other way
spelled
around,
out
other way
electronic
around.
sports.
I mean, T-sports is funny.
Okay. Brain fart. I meant to spell out traditional sports and not spell out esports. But point being, like, I think like this like creative medium that 100 Thieves used is really cool, and more orgs should like go for that, right? And they have done it like in other leagues and other sports, and it's just amazing to me. Like I know that players don't like to act, but you only have to do this once a year, and I'm pretty sure you can just throw it in a contract stipulation somewhere that they're required to do this. Like, yeah, it's
Honestly,
just,
and
it's a
again,
lot
this
of
is a
fun.
topic, but like players don't mind it. Players mind it as much as normal. That if it's cringe, if it doesn't get views, like if people make fun of them for being in it, that they don't want to be in it. But like that, just like don't make a shitty video, and like it's fine.
Yeah.
Even the
I
most
think people
like,
very much overstate how much players dislike doing stuff.
I actually,
They're fine with it.
I know that people very much overstate it. It's very funny to me when this gets brought up because people are like,
Emily's
people are
rant
like,
talked about that
pro
too.
players
Yeah.
don't like doing content like this. No pro player does. But none of the good ones. And I'm like, how do you know that? Because I know that that's not true.
Yeah, that's not
Like, there
true.
are
It's
some
like-
players that don't like it, but I know
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that's true.
A lot of players do like
Yeah,
it
like
because they
Em-
know
yeah,
it'll
like
help
on this
them.
week's Rift reaction, Emily Rand talked about that exact thing. Yeah.
But yeah,
Shout out Emily
basically-
Rand, by the way.
Yeah,
Any
shout out
randoms
Emily
in here?
Rand, the GOAT.
Randoms.
No
Randoms
shot.
rise up.
Absolutely no way she's listening to this, but Emily is in fact the GOAT. By the way, Emily Rand is occasionally pops in, talks about K-pop and like ice skating on the NAmen Discord, which is always great because then she's always just like knows so much about these things, and everyone's like, oh my god, Emily Rand is so cool about K-pop and ice skating. But yeah, very cool. So shout out to the NAmen Discord, by the way, if you want to join that. It's on our Twitter.
It's in the Twitter. Yay!
Okay. So I think that is all 10 teams. That is our thoughts on them. We ended with 100 Thieves because they are truly the pièce de résistance, the crème de la crème, you know what I mean?
They also
Creme de
like
your mama
they were
style.
the last team to announce because like I don't know, it got delayed for some reason. But it was really good.
Apparently
Connexion française, c'est trop nul.
No, I was just making vaguely French noises. I don't know how to speak French, but I feel like you can get by. You can convince someone who doesn't speak French that you speak French if you just go like.
It's like that. It's like that. How Polish sounds like to foreigners video.
Yeah, if you just make it sound like you're doing French-ish noises, people will believe you, and that's the secret to doing a French accent. Okay.
Yeah, but like
we have reached an hour.
That sounds
We've
like
Shout out-
officially ran out of content.
Shout out to Poland.
Shout out to Poland.
Real.
Gotta be one of my favorite countries for real.
Poland, the new 51st state of the United States of America.
Okay, so we have reached an hour. That is the end of our discussion about roster announcements. Very fun as always. I'm Arsh, the host. You can check me out on Twitter, Arshroyal13, for more controversial, arrogant takes by a nebulous asshole. And then who else do we have here?
I'm Delfi. You can find me on Twitter at DecemberOLI. You can find me complaining about lack of 100 Thieves content, and also, I'm doing a thing where I keep up with 100 Thieves solo queue every day, so, like, Korean solo queue. So, follow me if you want to see that or something.
You can find me at FluffG2 on Twitter, FluffJWI2, and sometimes I draw stuff. Check out my 100 Thieves drawing, and don't support AI art. Okay, peace.
Right, I am LCS Miracle on Twitter right now. I am very happy because as we are recording this, I have been spam tagged by 5 people that my boy Copy is officially announced as the CLG Academy starting mid laner, which is very cool. So I was very happy to
Poggers.
Oh
see that.
man, that does kind of
Shout-
suck
shout out-
because
Shout out
Fox
to
is
Copy.
really strong. If he was in a different if he was in a different bottom 5 team, he actually might have a chance. Fox is.
Who knows? You know, you can always get picked up by someone else going in the summer, but that's another episode entirely. So
True.
we'll reserve that discussion.
Yeah, that is the end of our episode. Thank you so much for listening. You can check out NAmen on TikTok, NAmen Central. Wait, it is NAmen Central.
No.
It's NAmen Moment on
It's
It's
TikTok.
NAmen Moment on TikTok, NAmen Central on Twitter. You can check out all of our Twitters. Be sure to support the roster announcements that you guys liked so that we see more of them. Like, that's actually just how we see more of those. Go
True.
like, comment, make 5 accounts, promote the 100 Thieves one. Make 5 accounts,
Real.
promote the Golden
Oh,
Guardians
yeah.
one. You know, don't like,
Add
even the CLG.
EG to make one that's good.
Yes, please. Everybody spam EG, you know? Surely
Don't, but
they'll
like,
like that.
but like, don't do that. You know, like, this is how we get the orgs to do what we want. Positive feedback is far more effective than negative because this is a capitalist society, and if we show them that we're willing to get them money, which in this case means just liking and commenting on all their stuff, everyone will switch over to doing that thing. So instead of shitting on the orgs that didn't do things that we liked, lift up the ones that do good stuff, and everyone else will follow. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. That's NAmen signing out, I guess.